Jamal had worked in the Kingston mansion for 2 years. He was a chef, a damn good one. Mr. Kingston, a billionaire real estate mogul, had hired him after tasting his food at a 5-star restaurant in New York. He paid well, treated Jamal with respect, and expected nothing less than perfection in return. But his daughter, Emily Kingston, was trouble. One night, Jamal was instructed to deliver a late dinner to Emily's room. He knocked gently on her door. "Miss Emily, your food is here." "Come in," she called. Jamal pushed open the door, careful not to look around too much. Emily had just stepped out of the shower. Her blonde hair dripped water onto her silk robe, and her skin glowed under the soft lighting of her room. "Put it on the table," she said, but instead of stepping aside, she stood too close. Jamal cleared his throat and set the tray down. "Enjoy your meal." As he turned to leave, she grabbed his wrist. "You don't have to go so fast." Jamal pulled away gently. "Miss Emily, Don't act like you don't want me," she whispered, her fingers trailing his arm. Jamal stepped back. "I respect your father. I respect this job. Please don't do this." Emily's face twisted with rage. Then, before he could react, she let out a blood-curdling scream. "Help! Help! He's attacking me!" Jamal's heart pounded as the heavy footsteps of the security team thundered toward the room. The door burst open, and 3 security guards stormed in. They found Emily crumpled on the floor, clutching her robe as if it had been ripped from her body. Tears streamed down her face, and she pointed a trembling finger at Jamal. "He tried to force himself on me," she sobbed. Jamal stood frozen. "That's not true." His voice cracked with desperation. "I would never." "Shut up," one of the guards barked before slamming him against the wall. His arms were yanked behind his back, wrists locked in a vice-like grip. "Mr. Kingston will hear about this." Another guard sneered as they dragged him out of the room. Jamal's mind reeled. He had done nothing wrong. The truth sat on the edge of his tongue, but he knew how this looked. He was a black man in a billionaire's home, accused by a white woman of something unspeakable. And in America, that was often enough. Mr. Kingston's study was dimly lit, the scent of old leather and expensive whiskey filling the air. The billionaire sat behind his massive mahogany desk, his fingers steepled in front of him. His expression was unreadable. Emily sat beside him, dabbing at her eyes with a silk handkerchief, her lower lip trembling just enough to be convincing. "Jamal," Mr. Kingston said at last, his voice calm but heavy with authority. "Tell me exactly what happened." Jamal took a breath, his pulse hammering. "Sir, I was just delivering her food." He hesitated, glancing at Emily, who stared back with wide, innocent eyes. She made advances. I told her no. That's when she screamed. Emily let out a small, wounded sound. "He's lying, Daddy. He's just saying that because he got caught." Mr. Kingston's jaw tightened. "Jamal, I trusted you. You were like family." Jamal's stomach dropped. He had worked so hard to earn that trust, to prove himself. Now, with a few well-placed words, Emily had shattered everything. The police were called. By morning, Jamal was in a holding cell, staring at the cracked ceiling, his life unraveling before his eyes. His career, his reputation, his freedom, all in jeopardy because of one lie. And he knew one thing for sure. He had to fight back. Jamal spent every second of his time behind bars thinking about Emily and her lies. He knew he had to survive, so he worked out every day, read every book he could find, and learned from the men inside. He made friends in dangerous places and gained knowledge he never had before. Then something happened. A new lawyer took on his case. A woman named Lisa Turner believed in his innocence. She dug deep, found inconsistencies in Emily's story, and uncovered security footage showing Jamal leaving her room without a struggle. 3 years after his conviction, Jamal was exonerated and released. But he didn't plan to disappear quietly. The day Jamal stepped out of prison, the world outside had changed. But so had he. No longer was he the naive young man who trusted in justice. He had been burned, betrayed, and beaten down, but now he had a fire in his chest that refused to die. He would reclaim his life. He would make his name mean something again. Word of his wrongful conviction had spread far beyond his old neighborhood. Social media had taken a story and made it a movement. Hashtags like hashtag Justice for Jamal and hashtag Emily Lied trended for weeks. Black activists, community leaders, and influencers rallied behind him, demanding justice for all the men who had been falsely accused and imprisoned. Jamal had options now, more than he ever dreamed of. But first, he had unfinished business. He knew he couldn't waste time on reckless revenge. The Kingston family had money, influence, and power. If he wanted to destroy them, he had to be smart. Instead of going after them directly, he decided to hit them where it hurt the most, their reputation. While in prison, Jamal had learned the power of perception. He had seen men with nothing but their words turn inmates against each other. He had studied the art of persuasion, manipulation, and influence. Now, he would put those lessons to use. Step 1, rebuild his own name. Step 2, expose the Kingston family. One of the first things Jamal did after his release was open his own restaurant. Not just any restaurant, but a high-end soul food spot in the heart of the city. The idea came from the countless nights he had spent in prison, dreaming about the meals he missed, the flavors he longed for, and the comfort food that reminded him of home. The black community rallied behind him. Donations poured in from GoFundMe campaigns, black-owned business networks, and celebrities who had followed his story. Investors saw potential in him, not just as a restaurateur, but as a symbol of resilience. Within months, Jamal's table became the hottest new restaurant in town, and he made sure the Kingston family saw it. Emily Kingston had not suffered the way Jamal had. While he rotted in a cell, she lived her life, attending high-profile galas and fashion events, her name still untarnished. But that was about to change. Jamal hired a team of private investigators and journalists. He knew the truth had a way of finding cracks in even the strongest walls. And soon, those cracks began to show. A former mate of the Kingston family came forward, revealing that Emily had been pressured by her parents to lie. They had feared a scandal, worried that their daughter's real actions would ruin their reputation. Emily had never been the victim. She had been the aggressor. Then, old friends of Emily started speaking up. Whispered rumors turned into viral posts. Screenshots of her private messages surfaced, messages where she bragged about ruining that thug's life. The internet did not forgive her. Jamal didn't have to lift a finger. The world turned against Emily and the Kingston family on its own. Their businesses took a hit, their social status crumbled, and sponsors dropped them like a plague. Jamal, on the other hand, thrived. Jamal's table expanded, opening new locations. He became a speaker at justice reform events, an advocate for the wrongly accused, and a living testament to resilience. And one evening, as he stood outside his restaurant, watching a line of eager customers stretch down the block, he knew one thing for sure. He had won, and the Kingston family would never recover. Jamal's story is just one example of the injustices that black people face every day. Wrongful convictions, racial profiling, and an imbalanced justice system continue to destroy lives. But change starts with awareness, action, and a refusal to stay silent. If you believe in justice, if you believe in equality, if you believe that no one should suffer for a crime they didn't commit, then do something about it. Support organizations fighting against wrongful convictions. Educate yourself on the realities of systemic racism. Speak up when you see injustice happening. And most importantly, share this story. Because the more people know, the harder it becomes to ignore. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more powerful stories. And let's keep fighting for a world where justice is truly blind. Until next time, stay aware, stay informed, stay strong.